Welcome to the EMN podcast, where philosophy meets disaster and uncomfortable truths meet the profession we call emergency management. This is not safe space thinking. This is the arena. Let's begin. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are at in this fine world. And it is Monday. It is the 65th day of the DHS shutdown. And in that being said, that President Trump has been paying DHS employees through executive order, but that runs out on Friday. So that's where we're at with that. It's exciting news, right? I guess. But on the good side of it, I guess the IS portal is back up and running. And that's my FEMA update for today. Do you have any news on that, Andrew, or is it just...
It's another day. It's another day. We just keep moving on. I mean, it's like, okay, that's some good news, but let's just move, we continue to move on.
That's all we could do. Yeah, to my DHS and FEMA friends that are out there, keep on keeping on, guys. I know you guys are in the midst of a lot of stuff, and I appreciate the work that we've been doing. Matter of fact, we had a training here that was put on by FEMA, and the guys are out here working and not being paid. So, dedicated emergency management professionals that are still doing this incredible training that we need to do to be prepared for, what we're talking about today. We have FEMA coming here. We have FIFA coming here to the city, and we're doing a whole bunch of training associated with that. And these guys are working on their own dime, basically, making sure that we're prepared for when the world comes to our city. And that's what we're really here to talk about, is what's going on here. So, yeah, the world is coming to Inglewood and 16 other stadiums throughout the the United States and Canada and Mexico. First time that FIFA has done 3 countries at the simultaneously. So been on these coordinating calls with people from all the countries, from all the different stadiums. We're all suffering some of the same issues, but we also have our unique territorial, state and local issues that are happening. So that's what I've been doing. And I'm fixing in the next, I think it's 54 days. I got to look at my board, to the first kickoff in the United States on June 12th, as when we kick off here, United States versus Paraguay, in the little tiny town, being a little sarcastic there, little tiny town of Inglewood. It's no longer called the SoFi Stadium. It is called the LA Stadium for the purposes of the World Cup. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, I know this is crunch time for you, Todd, and I was actually just in Boston recently, actually at the start of the Boston Marathon, which started this morning, in Hopkinton, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. So it's a good distance because that's how they need to run. And it actually goes right by my niece's house. So it's exciting. And we're going to talk, about World Cup readiness, this morning.
Happy Patriots Day, by the way, Boston. Big celebration. And if you guys do not understand the Patriots Day in Boston, it is a huge day over there. So in that whole area. So happy Patriots Day there to the Massachusetts and family and friends that live out there. Hope you guys are staying safe. And,
this is not to be confused with the New England Patriots.
They are persona non grata in my family. So, go Bills.
So one thing I wanted to. I'm sorry. I'm stepping on your toes, Todd.
No, you're not. Not at all. No.
So I think this is one of those podcasts where I'm going to be some more in the role of the interviewer, and you're going to be interviewed. I guess we're in the arena. That's a fitting thing for Los Angeles Stadium, right? That's in Inglewood, and you're at the center of that arena at this point.
I am looking at it right now through my office window.
Exciting. Well, I've never been, so hopefully at some point when I get to that part of California, you can give me a nice tour of Los Angeles Stadium. Uh, also known as
When you come out, it'll be back to SoFi. It doesn't
It'll be
turn
back.
into Los Angeles. Technically, it doesn't turn back to Los Angeles Stadium until May 1st or something like that. So right now, still SoFi technically.
I see. Is this because of FIFA's requirements?
Yeah, FIFA. I don't think FIFA signed the, which is weird because I don't know how they're going to do that. I mean, this is in the weeds a little bit here, but technically they're calling it Los Angeles Stadium because I don't know if SoFi signed an agreement with them or something along those lines. I don't know if they're called MetLife for that matter. It might even just be called the New York Stadium, which is in New Jersey, which is really confusing.
I will find out. And that's not, well, I can't see it from here, but it is, it's a short distance from where I live. So,
so you're not Sarah Palin. You can't see it from here.
I cannot see it from here. So our colleague, Kelly McKinney, so shout out to Kelly, likes to call emergency management extreme project management, which is a subject, of course, near and dear to my heart because it's the focus of a lot of what I do. For a host city, the World Cup isn't just a game. It's really a global competition, and that audience is global in terms of billions of people who watch it. We will have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people descending upon these different event sites, etc. It's been really a 4-year program right now with a very short go live window. And the question isn't whether ready for a tournament, it's whether you're ready for what that tournament may expose, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like to say every day is game day. And you've got in Los Angeles Stadium 8 FIFA World Cup matches. You've got 2 qualifying games at the round of 32, and you've got 1 quarterfinal game. And 2 of those games will be featuring the United States team. So one thing I want to couch before we get into our discussion is I want our listeners to know that the questions we'll be discussing here are designed for just a professional development discussion, not to elicit any sensitive operational details that will jeopardize any security regarding the events that will take place. So anyway, that's a lot to throw at you at this point. So you ready to get into it?
Let's get into it, and it's we're in the arena. Right. Let's do it.
Okay. So I could imagine there are countless agencies seemingly involved in the emergency management for and planning just for Los Angeles Stadium. What can you give us an idea of the numbers and the types besides the ones that we know, the sort of obvious ones?
So I'll just give you straight numbers. Like right now, let me give you a structure really quick. Sure. So we're not running a traditional emergency operations center, EOC, if you will, in the EOC, right? What we are running is simultaneously the joint tournament operations center, and then we have a group inside the JTOC, that is focused on City of Inglewood potential issues, which would be traditionally done in what you'd say the emergency operations center. So we're going to have 40 some odd individuals in the room, law enforcement, all levels of law enforcement, fire, EMS, county, state, emergency management. Our partners from LA City will be in the room with us. And so it's really like almost like it's not even a county emergency operations center. It is really, it's a fantastic infrastructure of all these different agencies coming together in the room so we can communicate. And then we're adding capabilities in the room as we speak. Matter of fact, they're working on the EOC today to add additional capabilities inside the room just for technology speaking side of it. And it's going to be just an amazing amount of movement that's happening to make this specific physical space work the way we need to work. And including with that we have the Joint Information Center, which is co-located in the same building, where we have an additional 30 PIOs coming from across the state and the different functions. And then we also have our tactical communications team, which is another area which is going to be co-located in the same building, which is another 10 individuals or so that are looking at, including partners with, like, say, FirstNet's coming there, and Verizon Telecommunications will be in the room. That will be looking at all the physical stuff that's happening, monitoring cell towers, communication through that. So all of these pieces are moving together, along with security infrastructure, EMS and fire protection infrastructure, public communication infrastructure, telecommunications, tactical communications, radio communications infrastructure, traffic monitoring infrastructure, and moving dignitaries, teams, individuals throughout the South Bay here, including practice facilities and hotels and whatnot. So all this stuff is being monitored in a 24/7 basis, out of this one location. So that's kind of like the nuts and bolts of what we're doing.
So on that note, is it a unified command? Is it a single command for World Cup? Like when it hits your jurisdiction, who owns an incident or that, command and control, so to speak? I know it's not strictly command and control, but something of that sort, right?
So, let's add that to it too. So it is a unified command. However, during game day, there's also going to be our field operations command post that will be dealing with everything that's out in the field, obviously, command post, right? And so that's another layer. That's another layer that we have. So the stadium operations, stadium command, right? So they're going to be feeding everything that's inside of the physical footprint of SoFi Stadium, and then we have the external stuff that's being anything that's not inside the footprint is being taken care of by that command, and then we're looking at the larger picture of everything else that's associated with supporting that field command post, right? So there's a ton of moving parts, and a lot of individuals associated with what we're doing.
So that we're talking about fan festivals, all the other different things, where the teams are housed, foreign dignitaries, et cetera, who are attending games, especially as they go from these, pools of teams into the round of 32 and then the quarterfinals and so on and so forth.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you handle games on a regular basis, right? Because you've got two different football teams that use SoFi Stadium, which will be Los Angeles Stadium when it's used. We'll keep that nomenclature correct there. And you've had Super Bowls there before, which are big, for our listening audience, are big events.
One Super Bowl, correct. Yeah.
One Super Bowl. Okay.
Yeah, Super Bowl 50, whatever it was, whatever the one was during 2021.
Right. So there's some experience there with large events and things like that. So.
Yeah. I mean, like, and just to kind of put that in perspective, we just had back in February, we had the NBA All-Star Week that was here, and again, same very similar function, right? We didn't have a J Talk per se, but we had we were monitoring everything that was happening with that. Again, a lot of it on our end is looking at everything that's outside the stadium, right? Inside the stadium itself, I don't want to say it's not our concern, but that's what, from the EOC perspective or from the JTOC perspective, we're not looking at what's happening inside the stadium. Now we're communicating with them; they're telling us what's happening. We have people that are there if there's something that's going to go sideways, but we're really looking at the footprint outside the stadium, right? Of how that impacts the community and if we need to move things. So again, even with that, we have dignitaries coming, high profile, people attending the event. Security posture is huge on that as well. It's another international viewing event that's happening. And we have the NBA All-Star or NBA playoff games going on right now as well. So the city is used to these events, right? I don't think any of the cities where, and I'm speaking a little out of turn maybe for my other partner cities, but like, Houston, Boston, Philadelphia, New York, Kansas City, these names, Dallas, right? All these, Levi Stadium up in San Francisco, Santa Clarita actually, but Santa Clara. I mean, those areas. They're all used to having these big games, right? Nobody's foreign. It's not foreign to them. But as it's stated, the difference between those games and what we're looking at today is it is as if we're having a Super Bowl every other day for 40 days.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right. So it's not like, when you look at the Super Bowl planning, or even for the All-Star game planning, you're looking at an event. It's going to happen in one day or maybe a couple of days, as far as things happening, a week, say, right?
Mm-hmm.
A week long. You gear up for that week. They get to the Super Bowl, and then you're done. This is Super Bowl every other day, right?
It sounds to me like this is a marathon with, well, I'd say it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. This sounds like a marathon with sprints inserted in between. You have a whole marathon that's happening for a good month and a half, right? Starting in June. We have a marathon going on this morning. You're going to be running a marathon for that month and a half. How are you scheduling your emergency management staff and first responders to avoid that project fatigue that typically will probably hit somewhere about mid-tournament, right? That's a credible operational pace. Even if nothing happens, you're still monitoring and getting ready and knowing because you're not just looking at what's going on in beautiful Inglewood and the greater Los Angeles area. You're also looking at these different event sites in North America, Canada, Mexico, other parts of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be on a coordinating call every day. We still are on a coordinating call weekly right now, but we're going to be on every day once the tournament kicks off. Actually, probably a couple of days before that. So yeah, we're going to be aware of everything that's happening, and time zones critical, right? So New York, Boston, they're gonna if there's anything that's going on there first, say protests or something along those lines, right? Something that may impact everybody. You're going to push this all the way down to where we're at, and put in perspective, Philadelphia, God bless them. They have the 250th anniversary of this great nation is going to be celebrated on July 4th, 2026 in Philadelphia. On that same day of the great celebration of the birth of our nation, we have they have a World Cup match. I mean, like, wow. I mean, talk about the craziness there, just on that stuff. So they're gonna feel it before we do, and so it's really critical for us to. And then on the back end of it, we're gonna see things that are happening later in the evening for them, where we're gonna share that information back for. So that you're right. I mean, it is not a local game. It's not a local pitch that people are coming to. It is really a national, North American pitch, right? So we're going to be talking to Mexico, we're talking to Canada, we're talking to all the other stadiums that are having events. So like I said, we're in this together. We're all feeling each other's pain and misery.
So I want to come back to the question because we're in the arena. So sure. Is that staffing pattern to make sure that you are able to continue that continuity of operation, so to speak, for the long haul. How is that being managed?
Sorry, I didn't mean to. Wasn't trying to dodge your question or anything.
That's all right. No, I'm not. This is part being in the arena.
Yeah. So for the most part, we have all the partner agencies are telling us, who's going to be assigned for them to the JTalk, and then so we have the schedule that we're putting people through on that, and so each agency is kind of handling it a little bit different. Internally speaking, our group, we're a little bit light, right? There's only 4 of us that true, well, 5, I guess, 4.5, if you want to look at it that way, that really truly have daily needs here. So we're doing 16-hour days. I mean, that's just it's what it is, right? I feel like I'm back in the military and in that aspect of things. So yeah, so we're doing the 16-hour days. Trying to find time to get people rest and relaxation, if you will, out of that. The JIC is a little bit less. I think they're doing 9-hour days, I believe.
Mhm.
But now we do have the schedule is fairly. We broke it up, so it's not we're not doing everything all day long, right? So we're ramping up when we need to ramp up, and then we come back down to a lower level of activation between a 1 and a 2, and then in the evening it goes to duty officer. So we are a 24/7 operation, but the evening hours after the games are over and people start going home, those are just go to duty monitoring. We're just monitoring the situation again, and then we ramp back up at early in the morning and do it again the next day. So that being said, we're really working to make sure that people aren't being burnt out.
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to a wonderful time off in August. So so that being said, but right now our team we've gone to there's no days off right now. I mean,
Mhm.
outside your regular weekends, but where no one's traveling, no one's vacationing. We're all in this together. And So the reason why I bring that up is we know we're mentally prepared for this, and we're looking at each other. If we need to have breaks, we're cognizant of that need, and talking to our teammates and making sure everybody's. We've had this conversation about, hey, let's check on each other, and if we see people who kind of going down the rabbit hole, let's get them some time off. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
It does. It does. I mean, I realize that. Just briefly, how does EMAC sort of play into it? Because NEMA did cite in their mid-year review EMAC requests as being especially important on how state, counties, local jurisdictions are thinking about supporting and sustaining these special events.
yeah, we've had that conversation. We have not pulled that trigger as of yet. Um, so that may occur. Now, the interesting thing is we've had plenty of people that said that they wanted to come and work it, and I've
Hmm.
had to tell everybody we're if you're working the World Cup with us, you're not seeing anything that you won't see on TV, because that's how we're going to be watching the World Cup. We are not at the stadium.
You're not.
We are
This
away
isn't
from the
disaster.
stadium.
This isn't disaster tourism or tourism, so to speak, of Los
Right,
Angeles Stadium and the game. You're not going to be sitting there on the front line watching the games and it's
right.
looking at the locker rooms.
You're, I don't know if this person's playing in the stadium here or not, but because I don't know what teams these people play for. But what's his name? Like Ronaldo or Messi, you're not going to be getting their autograph, all right?
Understood.
Whatever stadium they're playing at, you're not getting their autograph. You're going to be in the EOC. For in our case, in a basically a bomb shelter. And for those 40 days, I don't think I'm going to see the light of the day, to be honest with you. So I might have to bring in like a tanning booth or something downstairs, so I don't look more whiter than I already am. So.
Given what's going on in the world right now, and we can't just
Mm,
ignore what's happening, right? So there's a very real possibility of geopolitical events
sure,
impacting what's taking place, right? And that can have some spillover effects, right? As well as the potential for protests, local protests that disrupt the
sure.
games and things of that sort. How are you planning for that? How are you managing that? As well as, I mean, so that's one aspect, and then cultural expectations and the political sensitivities, diplomatic sensitivities of different international teams that will be taking part.
Yeah, so obviously we're looking at open source information that's flowing towards us regarding if anybody's planning on protests or if there's any scuttle on that. Our intelligence team is working hard on watching that stuff. Along with that, right now we're planning for Iran to be here. Everything is indicating that they're still coming, which is going to be an interesting time. And here in Los Angeles, the diaspora is the largest Iranian population outside of Iran. And so now, that being said, not everybody who lives here is a fan of the current administration in Iran. And so that, gives us time to pause of going, are we going to have anti-Iranian administration protests like we've had here already in Los Angeles? You've seen a few of those. They're over at the consulate building and a couple of things here, in LA. We had a couple of things that occurred that were a little potentially explosive. They got it. It was tamped down a bit, and there was nobody got hurt. There was a little bit of word said, and a guy did drive a U-Haul van through the middle of a protest and didn't hurt anybody. I think he got hurt because I think people beat him up a little bit. But on that side of note, how are they going to, this is the question that we have to look at, like, how do the Iranian fans come to the stadium? And what I mean by that is, are they going to come with so there's two flags, right? There's the current Islamic Iranian flag, and then there's the flag of Iran before the revolution. And they fly the flag prior to the revolution a lot at these protests. And so do they come to the stadium with that flag? And, do we let them in? Those are kind of conversations that you talk about, right? And it sounds silly. You're like, what's the flag? Well, flags and banners are huge in international soccer, from what I understand, or football, depending on how you say it. And so that's the conversation we've had. Like, what do we do? Like, do we say you can't bring that flag in? Flags with writing on them? So that's how granular the security team is getting into these conversations of like how do we deal with that? We do have a great First Amendment here, and I love it, and I'm pro First Amendment. And so, where do we allow protesters and demonstrators to stand? Do they stand on the sidewalk? And what security threat does that portray for us? Or, are there areas, I don't like the idea of free speech zones personally, but I understand that conversation, but if there are protests, where do we allow people to have their voice heard, but still doesn't interfere with other people's ability to enjoy the festivities in the game, right? So those are conversations that are being had. They're being, we don't necessarily have answers right now on all this stuff. We have ideas and contingencies and planning for it, but and at the end of the day, maybe nobody shows up for a protest, and it just happens to be, there's nothing we haven't seen the permits, for, and I'm being sarcastic about the permits, for protests being pulled anywhere. So, but those are concerns that we have conversations about, for sure.
The other thing I want to talk about is the public communication, information management, as well as local community. In program and project management, we look at a power and interest grid, sort of look at stakeholders, key stakeholders, and how do we meet their needs when it comes to what we're doing. And with this type of event, how do you ensure that the local community needs aren't being drowned out by this global event that's going on and the vast number of requirements that you've got to meet to help this, or help to guide and facilitate it happening safely and securely?
Oh, I wish I had Crystal here with me. She'd be able to answer that question way deeper than that. Dr. Crystal McGlover, she's in charge of our joint information stuff for when it comes to the games. And so she has a great plan. Her and her team are working diligently to have that. And we're working with PIOs from all across the region. I hope that answers your question. But yeah, so that it is, they're taking that into consideration.
So you are. And on a different note, you've got extreme heat in you can have extreme heat. In fact, we had some very high heat here in the in the New York area recently. It was way out of whack with normal temperatures, and you had extreme heat within the past month or so out in the Los Angeles area. How are you planning for surge capacity for any sort of heat-related illness during peak attendance days?
Yeah. So first of all, yes, California, extreme heat, but extreme heat is relative, right? And the reason why I say this is in England just recently, they had an extreme heat event. It was like 75 degrees, right, Fahrenheit, but they're not used to that weather, and they don't have air conditioning in the buildings. So but they actually had deaths associated with that, right? So as much as we can go, oh my God, 75 degrees. Well, I mean, it was impacted them, right? So we're going to have visitors coming from all over the world. And so if we have an 85-degree day, that might be an extreme heat day for them, for the guests, right? So we do have, and the National Weather Service said, hey, there's a high probability that we'll have at least a week with extreme heat here, California extreme heat, which is like, into the high 90s for a few days. So we have a heat plan. Actually, the city of Pasadena during the Club Cup created this really fantastic heat plan that we adopted with cooling centers. Of course, we have the regular cooling centers throughout the city, and then we'll have cooling centers at the stadium and around the stadium, and water distribution is working. LA Metro has a really great water distribution plan. So yeah, we've taken that all into consideration, and we have a very solid plan.
And with a lot of international visitors that are coming there, what are the plans in terms of language access, insurance? Clearly for folks who are coming in, any repatriation that's required if people need to be sent back home for whatever reasons. Given the possibility of illness or sickness.
Yeah, so that's being handled. That part of the repatriation side of it is being handled at the county level. And we do have our federal partners that will be here as well. And then on the language side of it, as far as communication goes, we're using various different, I guess, apps, for lack of a better term. So I don't know if it's perfect, but it's as perfect as we can get to it when we have automated interpretation devices that can go out. Now, realistically, I can send you a message today. Even without having any kind of crazy devices, I can send you a message today in English, and if you receive it in French, right? Because your phone is set up for French, so it's very similar. It's there's some glitches on there. For instance, when we're kind of playing with it, if you send run, hide, fight in English to French, it says jog, right? It says jog. Run is translated into jog, like exercise.
Right.
I think once you start seeing this, and if you're French and you get this thing saying jog, that's kind of weird. But you see everybody else kind of running away. Hopefully, you would kind of add that together. So there's a little bit of that that is different. We have all sorts of languages that are spoken here in Los Angeles. I want to say it's one of the most diverse. I think New York City is the only one that's have more languages spoken in a single city. New York City is the most, and Los Angeles is number 2. So we're used to really communicating in multiple languages, and so we have translation services. We have the devices that will be able to send things out into multiple different languages, again, as best as we can. But yeah, and then we also have multiple language. I want to say there's 6 or 7 different language television stations that are here. We have a Farsi station, Korean, Chinese, Spanish, Russian. What else is Armenian TV stations? So they're I don't know what their demographics or what their if you decide to advertise on one of those channels, I'm not sure what you're getting with it, but they're here, and so they cover the news, and so they have translators associated with those audiences as well. So I think we're okay there. Could we always do better? Absolutely, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
I know we've got sort of tight schedule here because there's a lot to cover. So I want to drive towards one of the last things I wanted to discuss is, a lot of this capability building. Is this something that is going to build a legacy system for your emergency management program to make it stronger after the World Cup, or are you just renting readiness and preparedness for the 30 plus days that you have the tournament going on?
A little bit of both on that. For sure, we have some legacy programs that we're putting in place here. Now, mind you, we're right after this, take a little bit of a break, and then we go right into Super Bowl planning. And then after the Super Bowl, we have I don't know if there's even a break. It'll be a short break, if anything, and then we're rolling. We're actually doing it right now, but rolling into Olympic planning. So I don't think there's any actually break between the Super Bowl and rolling into the Olympic planning. So we're back to back on this stuff, and so there's things that I'm looking at this, even though we talked earlier, it's Super Bowl every week or every 2 days or so. I'm looking at this really as a dress rehearsal for the Olympics, which a little longer duration but more diverse countries coming to that, and so this really kind of gives us that taste of what the Olympics are going to be like here in Los Angeles in 2028.
A mutual colleague of ours, Eric Kant, introduced me to the concept of real-time capture, and it's something that is embedded in a lot of the software applications, situational awareness, creating common operating pictures. Is that being employed for this, so that there's intelligence that's coming in, as well as not just for intelligence right at the moment, but looking, forecasting, getting an idea of assessing the situation sort of going out. In other words, capturing information from other sites, but being able to sort of understand what's that mean for you in, in Inglewood, so to speak. So for example, in what is MetLife Stadium, which I guess will be New York City Stadium, or whatever, New York Stadium, whatever they wind up calling it. There's certain restrictions in terms of not allowing cars parked within that. They won't be allowing tailgating, things like that. I believe the same is true out in Los Angeles Stadium as well. People will be able to park off-site and get buses to come in, but not at the stadium itself, that sort of thing. But if there are issues around some of the transportation, that can be fed forward into what you're doing there, so that you're able to sort of do some analytics to understand how that's going to impact you. And then on the after action side, to be able to capture that and decisions, so that you can look at, what happened and how did we respond effectively? How can we respond better? Because you're not just looking at one event, you're doing that over the protracted time that you're managing this whole program.
Yeah, I mean, when we're looking at, we have all sorts of different intelligent products coming into us. 99.9% of everything that we're getting is packaged open source information, like I said earlier, that we have coming in. Obviously on the law enforcement side, they have law enforcement sensitive stuff that they're dealing with that we're not necessarily getting unless we need to know on that end of it. But as far as on the emergency management side, most of the stuff that we're getting is open source information that's packaged and analyzed, and that's the important part of it, right? Is as we get information coming in, what is noise and what is actionable intelligence, and so that's the part that's critical, is that we actually have people that are looking at this stuff and putting together intelligent packages for us to consume with actionable information. That's about as far as I can get into that, but that's sure. What we have. Mm-hmm.
And then I guess, not to get ahead, is there a plan after this is all said and done to capture the lessons learned from the World Cup event, the FIFA World Cup to ensure that stays with you and that you leverage that going into some of the other events that will be happening down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yes. I mean, like everything else, we're going to take our lessons learned. To quote Craig Fugate, lessons learned and not implemented is just lessons observed. And so I plan on using lessons learned and implementing things to fix going into the Super Bowl, to fix going into the Olympics, and learning from our partners, the other stadiums that are having the same issues. And like I said, we're constantly communicating. I had a really great conversation just last week with New Jersey, for instance. New Jersey State Police, who are running the emergency management side over there, and we talked to Houston a lot, Miami, a lot to Miami, so a lot to Santa Clara up north. So we're always communicating. And we're all learning from each other, and we learned a lot from the Club Cup that preceded this, and the Confa Cup as well, and some of the issues that are associated with that. And so we have learned. We're constantly learning from these things and implementing those into our planning matrix right now.
Excellent. Well, I think I put you on the spot here in the arena plenty at this point. And I think it's an exciting, this is an exciting time, many different things that are going on, and influenced by what's going on within the world, as well as, we look at the social, technological, ecological, legal, economic aspects of it. And I think that to me is quite a challenge. So I applaud the efforts, and glad there's someone like you who's actually planning it. So, are there any other thoughts? What's that?
I just have to say that we have a great team here in Inglewood, led by our greatest team leader, Brian Walker, who's really kind of driving this thing. We got Dr. Crystal McGlover, who's doing all the PIO stuff, and you can't forget about Amy Lozano and Katrina Butts and everybody else who's on this team. I really just it's a pleasure to be here. It is such a great environment to be here, and I couldn't imagine doing this with any other people than the team we have assembled here in Inglewood, and I appreciate everybody here.
Absolutely. Do you have any questions for me?
Oh no! And matter of fact, I got coming up to another meeting here in a few minutes. Of course, It's FIFA. I was joking with my boss the other day, and we're supposed to be tracking our FIFA hours, and I told him, I said, I'm just going to put 8 hours a day now because this is all we're doing is FIFA. So I have to track my other hours than FIFA now, I guess.
Gotcha.
All right, everybody. I appreciate you very much.
All right. Well, Todd, you want to sign us out for the podcast?
Sure. Hey, everybody. As always, stay safe and stay hydrated.
When the sirens scream out loud, we're the voice that breaks the cloud. Heads out high when things go wrong, we'll guide you through with strength and song. Disaster strikes without a sound, chaos reigns but we're around. Public safety in our hands, steady strong in every land. Emergency management, we're the guide in the night. In storms and strife we fight.